Call this meeting to order. Please rise with the flag salute. The microphone's on?
No.
Hey, second. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I can put a sign up.
10,000 times.
Roll call, please.
Mayor Caucus.
Here.
I was so
It's
happy.
not on, hold on.
She learned in school.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Here.
Mrs. Kelly. Here. Mr. Root.
Here.
Mr. Long.
Here.
Mr. Basor.
Present.
And Mr. Dioria.
Here.
And Mr. Rozon.
Present.
Very good. Public notice of this meeting pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Act has been given by the clerk in the following manner. One, posted on the bulletin board in the Borough Clerk's office on January 3rd, 2019, and two, emailed to the retrospect and current post on January 3rd, 2019. First order of business we have is Resolution 19-136. Which is, I apologize, we discussed this at a caucus meeting, then we never put it on the agenda. So this is the shared service for the trash collection. We did discuss this, correct, Jim? I mean, we went over this, it just got missed for some reason. There is an increase, but we discussed that it's obviously the decision from Public Works, and it's...
We're still making out.
Yes. So, resolution authorizing a shared service agreement by and between the boroughs of Runnemede and Belmar, Mount Ephraim for trash collection from January 1st, 2020 to December 31st, 2020. Would someone like to make a motion? Mr. Motion by...
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Lobenstein, second by Patsio. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yeah.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
6 ayes.
All right, the resolution is adopted. Did you hear about a fight broke out in a ShopRite checkout line or something like that? That's what it reminds me of, people trying to get in front of each other. They started to fight. So. All right, we have Resolution 19-137. It's a resolution confirming 2019 appointments. This is for 2 crossing guards. I know that the public safety meeting was postponed, but obviously, follow the normal thing, but I don't think there should be any problems with this, correct? Okay. I mean, we're short on crossing guards, we need crossing
Yes,
guards.
very, very much.
Okay. So is there a motion?
I'll second that motion.
That's a public safety one. Lobenstein, Passio. Roll call, please.
Mr.
Oh, yeah.
Farrell.
Do you have a question?
I just have a question. Are they substitute?
Yeah.
Yes.
These are
Yes,
substitutes. All
That's
substitutes.
not how it was filled out.
Yes.
right, let's amend that
It
then.
says crossing guard.
Thank you.
So,
So let's make an amendment to Resolution
You want them both to
19-137.
be- Both are substitutes?
Substitute crossing guards.
thank you, Jim.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I'm going to put it on the sheet that I was given too.
I thought it said on the email that they were substitutes, didn't it?
Well, I have their new
Yeah,
employee hire
subs.
sheets and it does not say. that. It
Ah,
says
so you have
crossing
that,
guard.
okay. Okay, so as amended, would someone like to remake a motion then?
I will remake the motion to show that
I'll second that.
we are hiring 2 substitute crossing guards.
Okay, motion by Kelly, second by Lobenstein. Roll call, please.
Wait a minute. That was it.
You wanna-
Okay. Where is the, Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein?
Yes.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
And Mr. Root?
Yes.
6 ayes.
All right, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 19-138 is a resolution authorizing property maintenance liens. This is block 135, lot 32 for $2,535.87. Just for everyone to know, since block and lot doesn't tell you, this is the La Quinta.
Oh, yeah. They worked that for a long time.
No, this is a new one that I think this comes from Public Works.
Oh.
Boarding up the property, I think because the police department asking for it to be boarded up.
I'll make the motion.
Motion
I'll
by
second that motion.
Ranieri, second by Passio. Any roll call, please.
Mrs. Passio?
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly?
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes.
Mr. Root?
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri?
Yes.
6 ayes.
Okay, that resolution is adopted. Resolution 19-139 is a resolution authorizing agreement between the Homeward Bound Pet Adoption Center, Inc. and the Borough of Runnemede for animal shelter services for 2020. This was reviewed. Ms. Passio's familiar with this. Homeward Bound is an excellent facility, but it went up a little bit, right, Joyce? It did go up,
$100 a month.
so an extra $1,200, about it was a 10% increase,
Yeah.
right? Was it about 10%, Jim? I think it was something almost that much.
What was their reason behind
Just the increased cost there. You know, they have to keep the dogs animals for so many days.
Yeah.
So
Facilities have been upgraded.
Yes.
New facilities are
it?
better.
You get HVAC.
They are, they are,
It's really nice, yeah.
like 98%.
No, yeah, no kill. Someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Ms. Passio?
I'll second.
Mr.
I'm sorry, who
Ranieri?
was that that made the motion?
Ms. Passio, then Mr. Ranieri?
I'll tell you that it says here the increased minimum wage was the
Oh.
major reason why.
Oh,
Okay.
how about that? Yeah.
Okay. So, roll call, please.
Yeah, July, wasn't it?
Where are you at? It's already happened twice.
Small, it was small.
Well,
Yeah,
it
it's
was-
gonna go up.
It went up.
it went up
Yeah.
from 9 to 10, and then it's in January, it goes up to 11.
Yeah.
Who made the motion?
Motion by Ms. Passio, second by Mr. Ranieri. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
6 ayes.
Right, the resolution is adopted. Resolution 19-140 is a resolution ratification of the Public Works Employees Collective Bargaining Agreement from the ninth. It's retro for a year, and it's only for the next 2 years. But I think there's some highlights that were sent out by Mr. Long.
Correct. It was in the email that I sent to council today. Don't want to talk too much about it publicly just because of the terms and conditions of employment, but I did set up some highlights and some changes that we got. But overall, I think it was a very fair deal for both sides. And thank everybody for their hard work and support.
And the big issue is, I can say that it is a 2% increase, which is typically what we've been doing in most of the departments, unless there was some extraordinary circumstance, if someone, deserved something or earned something more, something like that. Okay.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Mr. Lobenstein. Roll call, please.
Oh, I have the wrong name in here. Who's
Wait,
next?
wait.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
I didn't make this
And who's missing?
Mr. Farrell.
Mr. Farrell.
You like it? She's got me
You
on.
know what the trouble was? I was trying to find their
She finds
last,
old resolutions.
their last ratification, but they were the rocket scientists the
They-
last time.
Aerospace.
Aerospace engineers, that's
Do
what
it
it
right
is,
in.
yeah.
Do it right in. Okay, that resolution is adopted, and I will, do I need to sign that this evening?
I'll read this.
Okay, next week. Okay, resolution 9, because we would like to get it in for the last payroll, right? Get it adjusted?
We would like to give it a shot to get it.
Okay.
in the
And
retro.
the sooner you can.
No matter when they receive the retro, we'll be able to charge it to the specific year. There's money in 2019. We didn't have to double budget. for
You'd already had it
2020
budgeted.
Because it's already,
But there's a retro, there's pension payments, there's all kinds of health insurance, all kinds of things that have to be adjusted. I appreciate it, whatever you, even if you want to email it, it's the original copies?
no, that didn't preclude getting it signed as soon as possible. I was just saying about the.
No, we want to get there's only 2 pay periods left, right? 2 or 3 pay periods.
It
Okay.
doesn't have to be all. We'll have one copy that's ultimately the originals, but we can.
But for the file.
Sign the departments, that's still.
That's fine, okay, great. All right, then that resolution is adopted. Resolution 19-141 is a resolution authorizing the Borough of Runnemede Joint Land Use Board to conduct a preliminary investigation and feasibility study for non-condemnation. We're getting one ahead of the other. So, shoot, I didn't bring it with me, did I?
This is like
You
that.
want-
So 9th Avenue, at the previous Caucus meeting, we talked about the map that shows the, yeah.
I have the blown up one.
Do you have
It's not titled-
her proposal?
Yeah, that's just the proposal. See what's
All
on
right,
it.
we got to take the card from the horse.
Oh, here's the newer, is this the newer one? Here,
Yeah.
this is better yet.
Those taxes and they go along.
No, they're fine.
Are they?
We'll get that in Jim.
Yeah,
Because
well,
Jim,
definitely.
before we move along, before we pass this, there's a financial cost to this. So, you saw that, so ironically, we just billed La Quinta 2,500, and to do this redevelopment study, it'll cost us about $10,000. So, to be clear, one of the reasons the price went up this map is not 100% accurate. So, Jim, we just ripped that map off to the back so people can see. The properties that are in the redevelopment zone are the ones that are highlighted in yellow. So,
Oh,
it's the La Quinta, I called the owners of Richards and Robbins Group, and they were fine with this. Anything they said that would help them maybe to develop these properties. This piece of land here, which has this little skinny where Mr. Softy is, and then the two pieces of land that are on the other side, behind where the United Rental is, and behind where the hill is, where you sled.
yeah.
The only thing we added is, there's two pieces of property that are not in the special economic development zone. If everybody knows where the vault is, across the street from the vault, heading towards 9th Avenue, there's two pieces of land right there. It looks like it's one big piece of land, but it's actually a different zone. It's actually commercial along Clements Bridge Road. So if you know where, if you're facing 9th Avenue, you have Regency on your right. If you're on Pine Avenue, and you got Regency on your right, on your left is a piece of land. We're gonna add those two pieces of land to this. Now, obviously, the advantage is, anybody who wants to do anything can take advantage of the redevelopment status. We can expedite their process of building. We can make a tax break to maybe offset some costs. But one of the things I learned from the League of Municipalities, and I did learn something down there, was they did retain it too. Some towns are using redevelopment to control, so let's do a hypothetical. You have a zone that's commercial. Remember how people always give us a hard time that there's too many pizza places in Runnemede?
Yeah.
And we say we can't do anything about it because it's permitted in the zone. But when you create a redevelopment zone,
Okay.
you've added this layer to sit there and say, and the example that Collingswood Mayor Jim Malley gave, and the mayor of Harrison Township was, by making a redevelopment zone, you can pick the color, you can ask for blue shutters. Now think about that, when you go in front of a zoning board, you can't tell people what color that they can do. But with a redevelopment group, us being the
Have more
first level,
control?
we can ask for blue shutters on every property down the Black Ridge Pike. And Runnemede it would be dark green. So dark green shutters, because we use green. Do you understand the difference?
You have more control.
You have more control. So, not to say we wouldn't necessarily use that in this particular case, but I thought that was an interesting point, that we're the first level of approval. So by adding this little piece of land here, you know, hopefully it'll spur Richards and Romsford. They won't necessarily build unless they have a tenant. They're not building empty buildings. They want to build, you know what I mean, if they
You
have a
gotta rent
tenant.
the ones they have too.
La Quinta, he wants this from us to help him move this property. I think it'll work for that property too. We've lost almost $65,000 in hotel tax. We brought that up the last time we talked. Maybe it was in a different meeting we had. But, you know, we're losing money by this property not being utilized. So Candace, I think, did a great job. She put this together very quickly. There is a cost, I believe, I mean, it won't probably be charged until 2020, but
Well,
we do have money in,
I did budget for $10,000 for redevelopment.
okay.
I see that the project number here, Mark, is
Indeed.
RK 2019-9.
Do you need this, Mark?
Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so on my records, I thought that was closed out, that redevelopment. But it doesn't matter. I just want to make sure that this is the one that we're going to be using.
That's the new one.
Right.
For this area, correct.
Okay, good. Well, I budgeted $10,000.
Well, the money's there. I wanted to make sure before we passed the resolution that there was money.
Are the high costs because all these properties have to be notified, just like we went through the first time?
Same exact same
Whole
thing.
process?
They have to visit each property, take a picture of it, determine that it's in need of redevelopment, send out notices, correct, public hearings,
The whole scope of
the
work.
drawings, everything we did, but in a much shorter, remember, we had over 300 properties last time. This is only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and out of 6, there's only 2 owners. So Richards and Robbins owns 5 of the 6 properties. So it would
Where's
be
5
good.
and 6? I see the 1, 2, 3.
They're not marked.
They're not marked on this. We're putting it as part of our resolution. Lot 126, lot 1 and 1.01. It would include these 2 right here. Those 2 right there crossing the vault.
Oh, the triangular property?
No, not the triangle, on the other side.
Oh, okay, close street.
Yeah, it looks like it's one big lot, but it's actually 3 different lots.
Oh.
Okay, so before we do that,
So we have the money.
do we need any authorization for the money, or are we okay? This is already budgeted. It was already in the budget?
I'd like to have, if you're going to do.
All right, we'll add a resolution.
We'll use that.
So let's do resolution 19143. Before we do 19141, 19143 is a resolution approving the proposal from Bach Associates to
Extend the redevelopment.
the redevelopment study and preliminary investigation for the 6 lots, block 135 lots 32, 4303, 4306, 4305, block 126, lot 1 and 1.01. Did you get all that, Joyce? In the amount of $10,400. Is that okay? Would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Before, I'm
Yeah.
sorry I interrupt the motions, but while I have Mark here, Mark, can you start together, get together any billings that you have through the end of 2019 so I can record them in the budget so I know what to expect?
If there's any money left for the rest of the
Let's
year?
close out the year.
I want to close out the year, so can you start gathering that information? I know we've just received like 7 invoices, so it's pretty current. Same with you, Dan, can you start accumulating any fees?
Sure.
through the end of the year?
You got it.
Something like that? Thank you.
Can't find what we're worried about.
Okay, so we're good on that. Motion by Ms. Kelly as noted. Is there a second?
I second that.
Second by Ms. Passio. Any other discussion? Roll call, please. Kelly, Passio, and then roll.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Passio,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All right, that resolution is adopted. Now we'll do resolution 19141, which is the resolution authorizing the borough to implement, or excuse me, the borough to joint land use board to conduct a preliminary investigation. So council has to send a resolution to the planning board to do this process. And once again, the block is 135, lots 32, 403, 06, 05, and 126, 1 and 101. Would someone like to make a motion for that?
I'll
Motion
second
by
that
Mr.
motion.
Lomstein, second by Mr. Passio. Miss Passio. You are the pants on that.
Yeah, I am.
Roll call, please.
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mrs. Passio,
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
and Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
That resolution is adopted. Yeah.
Mark, I'm looking at this drawing. After this new lot that runs all the way out to Clements Ridge, it looks like it runs through the old United Rental lot. Is that not United, is that not part of that?
No, it's on the other side of the street. That little skinny piece, you're seeing the yellow?
That my son?
Oh, this is
That's between Mr. Softy.
Ninth Ave, right?
That's not, yeah. So what are you looking at?
This is the old United Rental.
Yes.
Half of that, that's their yard, all in this section.
It would be, it's a separate parking lot, so you have to, it's included.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So here's a hypothetical,
So they
United
were using
Rental.
all that on that other lot?
United Rental, just to let everybody know, I talked to the owner, they're still paying a lease for the next 2.5 years.
Wow.
Oh, my
So-
God.
I was gonna ask you, did they need a bigger place or something?
But the owner would, of course, like to re-rent
They
it.
moved the line.
They bought another property and they
Yeah, well,
Too far. But one thing he did say when I said that this would be redeveloped, he said that might help him to maybe do something with that building, to either expand it or make that lot even larger to help out. So everyone's looking at this as a potential tool. So, but that little narrow piece, hopefully that little narrow piece will get sold. Fred, I need a favor from you. I lost your letter. Do you have another copy?
I don't have it on me.
Okay.
I don't have my keys.
Can you, you'll have to read it by memory, you'll have to tell us. You're gonna have to get it.
I'll spread it, I'll email it to everybody.
Okay, I will call on you in a little bit. Are you good on that? We'll move on? Okay,
Yeah.
couple more things, okay.
I'll get clarification on that one.
Oh, you're saying the way it splits part of it? Yeah. It's just the way the block and
I
lot.
just think it's odd that United Rental was using all that if it's part of that property.
Oh, okay, so we'll verify that the block and lots haven't adjusted. You hear what he's saying, that block and lot might have adjusted
Gotcha.
to incorporate that parking, is that what you're maybe? Okay. So now we have resolution 19142, is a resolution supporting the Heart and Soul program. Do you need something a little more formal than this, or this, the resolution is good enough?
It's in the resolution, Mayor. I'm happy with
You're happy with that?
it. Works, yeah.
Whereas Mayor and Council wishes to encourage community involvement, and whereas Reimagine Runnemede is participating in the Heart and Soul program, now therefore be resolved that Mayor and Council of the Borough of Runnemede, County of Camden, State of New Jersey, that supports the heart and soul program wishes to work with the organization to help them fulfill their goals. Good?
Yes.
Okay. Someone like to make a
I'll
motion?
make the motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Ranieri, second by Ms. Kelly.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the resolution's adopted also.
Nice.
Okay. And I can sign that right away if you need it.
Would you?
Yeah, I can sign it all. And you just make a choice to sign.
Joyce has to sign.
Okay, so now we got first reading of ordinance 1915 is an ordinance amending the chapter 170 of the code,
Thank you for getting
the Borough of Runnemede Fire Prevention. This was an update on fee schedules, I believe. Since Mr. Laverty is here, have you had a chance to review this resolution?
Yes,
Good?
she made the changes and spoke with them.
I'm learning,
Okay, nice.
but I need it.
Oh, it's an ordinance. Okay, so this is first reading. So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to
I'll second
adopt on first reading and advertise according to law with a public hearing to be held at a meeting on December 30th, beginning at 6 p.m.
That's already before. We've inherited that, we never changed it.
And I'll second that motion.
Motion by Mr. Root, second by Mr. Farrell, sorry, he was already here. Roll call,
I
please.
didn't hear that, I'm sorry.
Mrs. Kelly.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Yes.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
Mr. Rude.
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All right, we'll have our public hearing now. New business discussion. I'm just going to read through these, and then there's a couple other items, and we'll go around the table. RFPs for professionals for both the Borough and Planning Board will be open on December 11th. As you know, every year, we do certain ones, solicitor, defender, those kinds of ones. Engineers up this year. We'll also be an RFP for the banking. You okay with that?
Yeah, we've collected some templates to base ours on, and accumulated the data as far as the
So our
service,
information.
the accounts, different
Yes.
things like that. I reached out to, waiting to hear back, so I just wanted to make a collaborative effort.
Absolutely. Okay.
Now,
So-
This type of RFP is.
It's a little tricky.
Little bit,
Yeah, we haven't done this before. Yes.
Who are we banking with?
Currently, we bank with TD Bank. We have 17 accounts with TD Bank. Correct, 17? Give or take.
I believe.
Is there some thinking that there might be another bank that we would be going to?
Well, yes, part of the agreement with the fire funding would be to go to First
When can
Colonial.
that happen?
Well, we have to follow the law, and we have to do a request for proposal. So Jim's putting that together to see how that works. We still have to go out for the formality. It's still council's decision what bank they want to use, but the law still
You
says,
have to solicit proposals, so you don't get accused of bid.
even though council has every right to bid or to us, so anybody they want.
How long is it gonna take to switch over?
Well, we might have a transitional period where we keep accounts, because this is not something you do frequently. We've never done this in the 12 years that I've been here. So,
I've done it.
Things
Yeah,
change,
Yeah, but
things change.
we don't want to just make a cold start with the new bank. We want to do it in phases. Maybe, yeah, a group of accounts, and then, because there's other services to take into consideration, there's web services, there's security, there's different things like that we need to adjust. There's risks associated.
so we'll do the RFP, council will make an appointment in January, and then the transition will just happen, whatever works best. And I would argue that I think the First Colonial has met with myself and with Jim about these things. I think we feel pretty confident that they have some similar things that we have advantage of. And if anything, they even offer a few things that are even better for us. No more will the police have to make deposits anymore. That's one small little thing that might be nice to not have to deal with anymore. Okay, a discussion of recent redevelopment zone. We did take care of that because that was part of the list. Before we get going, there is a couple other things that were handed to me. I'm going to ask Mr. Laverty to come up because I forgot his letter. Come on, just for a second.
I really don't remember it. It's just thanking mayor and council.
So Mr. Laverty gave a formal announcement that he is retiring as of April 1st with a retirement date of March 31st. He sent a very nice letter. I apologize that I didn't get a chance to give it to everyone. He did hand it to me to give to everyone. I'll make sure everybody gets it. We'll formally accept it at the council meeting
With regret.
with regret, and I think though that Fred, he realizes he's given us more than enough notice. I think he does care about the transition, he does care about the department. So I think this is a positive thing. His letter was eloquent. He thanked that the borough evolved over the different administrations to provide services to this community. So it was a good letter. I think Paul's going to use it as a template, and a lot of other departments should use it as a template to.
Where'd you get it? Something, Mr. Chairman? On behalf of the police department, I've been here 24 years. It's a pleasure to work with Fred. He's an outstanding guy, and I know I'll personally miss him. He does a fantastic job. Their whole crew is awesome. So it's a pleasure to interact with them, with the police department, fire.
You will be missed.
Yeah, very much.
Okay, thank you. So that, we won't formally do that. We'll do it at the council meeting. Then we have another letter, and I'll read this one. This is from the Public Works Department. Dear Mayor and Council, through this letter, I would like to give you my notice of retirement from the job of bus driver on December 31st, 2019. It's been my privilege to work for the Borough of Runnemede in many positions. It was a great pleasure to work with a great bunch of guys at the Public Works Garage. There's a lot of young, talented men there that have brought the borough to a wonderful town today through my eyes and my years working here. I enjoyed driving the seniors around and partaking in the trips the borough provided to the kids and the schools. I wish everyone well. As you know, I will wish me, and you will wish me happy days ahead, so we will. Thank you sincerely, Lee, Sylvia, Lardy. P.S. I will take corn to feed my deer, not another watch. So
He used to drive you around.
So we'll be in charge of corn. I'll give this to.
Listen, I used them. You're gonna call.
So he wants corn. We'll make it happen.
And when is his last day?
December 31st. So, yeah, we will have to figure something out.
Yeah.
Oh, here goes Mr. There, I found it.
I mean, his retirement is
The numbers.
deserved.
Information.
And I would never say that it wasn't deserved, but it is with regret that we have to, because everybody loves Lonnie, and
Yes.
and the seniors just love him so much.
So deer corn.
Well, why don't we make it a surprise? We won't say it in a public meeting, and we will figure something out.
All right, so we're gonna figure out how many corns to get on.
I do have the microphone, so I'm going to monopolize a few things, only because we had a very productive managers meeting the other day, so if I step on anybody's toes, I apologize, but I'll make it go quickly so that we're all on the same page. So during a meeting, and you might have this, but I know, like I said, you didn't have a public safety
It's
meeting.
got 5 pages here.
So I'll make sure, but I'll read quickly. So under fire, one of the things that we intend to do is turn our 2 part-timers to full-timers. So number 1 and number 3 on our civil service list, and I can say this publicly, Mr. Wolf and Mr. Mosh will become full-time fire department employees. They were budgeted earlier in the year, we just hadn't gotten a chance to do it. Ms. Pinto has called for the civil service test for captain, which will help with the transition. And on January, we will appoint Mr., I call him Scott Hill, but Walt Hill, as the fire marshal backup. He already does that duty now, but it'll be official starting there. I mentioned Mr. Liberti's retirement as of March 31st. Once again, I hope I'm not stepping on anything, but the fire company themselves filled out a grant application and won over $4,000 for firefighter hoods. The money will be spent by them, so we don't have to reimburse them. They'll do that. Finance on the fire side, we did talk a little bit more because there was a nice meeting about the finances for the bond council called me to ask me a question. She didn't understand how this process might happen with the fire company. And I made it clear that the fire company owns the building, the fire company would do all the renovations, the borough would simply increase our aid to the company or pay rent to the company to pay for it. She didn't quite understand that. Mr. Liberti made it clear that he felt that it would take 3 to 6 months prep time once we had the financing in place, and 6 to 12 months for construction. So this whole process could take anywhere from 9 to 18 months by the time we're done with this. So this gives us some time to plan and time to work through
Are
it.
we good with the bank?
Not yet.
Not yet, everything's coming together.
Happening.
Everything's a big circle here. We're dealing with RFPs, we're dealing with, well, they want some ability that the borough, ourselves, and anybody who succeeds us will continue to honor this agreement.
Please commit.
So, something to that effect. Just because this was brought up, and I think it's important to everybody, municipal building inspections, one of the things that Fred is zeroed in on right now is closing things out, making sure things get done. So, just so you all know, the Harry Williams building still has some alarm work to be done. We had money put aside to do this. Some of the costs changed. The department is looking at how to resolve that, and we can get that fixed. One of the things I believe that we have to do when we're doing projects, we are the government. We hold everybody to a high standard. We have to hold ourselves to the same standard that we hold our residents and our businesses. So how is it that we can hold a resident or a business to do all these things, and we're not always following through? So our predecessors may have, because of different reasons, I'm not going to be critical to it, because they might not have had the finances, they might not have had the time. But when things are pointed out to us, I believe we need to fix them properly. So there is an issue that the technology has changed, like we all know about CO2, the carbon monoxide system that has to be now in all our buildings. We have to follow the rules that we are implementing on everybody else. So I have the engineer tonight, so this is my opportunity to tell you. It was discussed at the meeting that the engineer should create drawings of the alarm system for the Harry Williams Senior Center and Library, with the understanding that there would be one alarm system for one building that would cover the fire and the CO2 for the entire building, correct? With the correct horn and strobes, lighting, all the things that make it. So and the reason for this, so you know, is the system that's in there is too old to add to it, right? It's not easy. It's better for us to take the whole system out, put a new system in, than it is to upgrade a system that will not upgrade. Is that accurate?
So we have to retrofit that entire building?
Replace. I would say replace and replan so that it's property. So need drawings for the building. So we have to go pull building permits. So our building permits must be approved by the department, construction department, and we do it properly. It may mean we need more money next year for this. That was what caused us to stop. When we had the money, we awarded the contract, when we found out that it wasn't enough to bring the building up, correct? We had only a certain amount of money, and the change order was double what the original cost was, because it was in such a,
So this will be some kind of preamble in the future?
It might be part of our next year's bond, or we might have to take money from somewhere else. Without a drawing, it's hard. We're going to have to go out for bid. And one of the thoughts was, because of all the work we were doing, it was going to put us over the bid threshold. So
Any approximate idea of cost of the project?
the original cost was $11,250.
Including soft costs?
No, the original cost was $11,250. It was awarded. When it went through construction, the number changed to,
Additional 25.
it went to
What?
$37,000.
Project complete. Complete, right?
Complete,
Is there any monitoring fees and all that?
yes.
Different that we didn't have?
Well, it might be similar. But the problem with that is it's too much work to just do once we get to a certain number, we have to follow the law.
Gotta do it.
So we're gonna need a proposal from you guys to do the drawings or whatever, approve that, and then move forward on that. I'd like to do this as quickly as possible, because the money's sort of sitting there, and we're not really in compliance right now, so we wanna get in compliance. Not that, like I said, not taking any thunder, but I am. The sustainable application was submitted, which I do thank Harry a lot, even though he did whine a lot about it, and complain a lot about it, and threatened me a couple of times about it.
I bet.
Yeah,
I bet.
I didn't call you.
That's done. Thank you, Harry.
So that was done. Bright LED is still doing, for changing all the LED lights in the building, but we need to hire a company, correct? One of the problems with these applications that we're doing is we need professionalism to come in and say, well, if you change those light bulbs, what are the savings going to be? Is that correct? So when we file our applications, we can get the money back. We can get the money for free. So we have to prove that we're going to save the money, and then after we do it, we have to prove that we did save the money. So one of the things that, remember we even talked about the green team. This is all part of that. It's a beginning, middle, and end. We have to follow through, we have to document everything. And I see that you guys have been doing the minutes, which is great, who's there. I see even corrections, which is great. But I would argue that all this stuff starts with an application. If the goal is to change the lights, we have to start at the beginning with how does the application get done? Who's going to review it and all that? And in this particular case, I think Harry's going to try to find someone who can come in and do a quick evaluation. Well, I don't know if it's quick, I don't know what it would cost. but to determine what it would be.
I think we have to have people that are in charge of certain projects. That's what we
Well, this is where sometimes we have to hire a professional who does this for other municipalities, who did it for other buildings, comes in and does this study for us. So the goal would be to switch to all LEDs throughout the whole, all the buildings, all the facilities, and then determining the savings, the maintenance savings, the ballast and things like that. We talked about already retiring. One thing just to make it clear, we talked about the fact that the bus driver gets paid $14.27 an hour, which totals about $17,900, which basically is 3 days a week, 28 hours a day. I don't know if you guys, is it 8 hours? It's a long day because he drives and picks people and drives along. So it is almost a part-time, it's a pretty substantial part-time job. So if anybody knows anybody for this, but the reason I bring up the salary is, I hate to say this, but we live in a world that maybe we do have to pay more for certain things to get quality people.
You
and
would
to
need
get people to-
CDL.
Yes,
Yeah.
you need you need a certain classification. It's a,
I did have someone that was
Last thing
interested,
with the passenger.
and I did tell Harry about that.
He told me.
But, yeah,
But-
but she called and said, you know, carpenter lifting and things like, and helping people, she said, no.
well, we're gonna have to resolve it, because here's what's gonna happen.
Anybody in mind?
We're not gonna have a bus coming December 31st.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Can we utilize our sign and put something out on the borough sign? Looking,
We've done it, we've advertised,
can we get it on our sign?
we've done it everywhere.
Looking for a part-time bus driver.
We have,
Yeah, it's everywhere.
I'm just adding it here.
I understand.
We're doing it everywhere. We're letting other departments know, we're putting out there,
Here's my
here's,
step, we'll just put it on the sign.
We have.
What you do?
It's not on the side.
oh, you put it on the website, I've seen the
It's on the
post.
website,
Put it on the sign.
Okay,
Facebook.
put it on the sign. Bus driver one.
Boy, that wasn't easy.
The
Thank you.
problem is that there.
I'm not in charge of those little tiny things.
Thank you.
You know, I know that he's trying. If he's not doing enough, then he's got to put it on the sign.
Teamwork.
Teamwork. Okay. Another page. Dump truck should be here second week of December. Trimming of the bike path is happening. You don't mind if I say this, because I have my notes and I don't want to miss anything. And so I don't care if I took everybody's stuff, because I'm running through this. Crack sealing, identifying the asphalt, so that's something I made a note for. Members of council, if you want to identify cracks in neighborhoods, that maybe we could help out when we're going to rent this machine, correct?
We were looking at it, entertaining the cost of it for next year.
Okay.
It wasn't sold.
But I think we should do it, because I would argue that a lot of, in our older community, with a lot of the older roads, they start to separate, and with this tar would make a big difference, correct? It would help, it would extend the useful life. So I would argue that we need to either budget for it, he's taken some initiative to find out what the cost would be, but I think part of it is also planning. So planning would be, if we identify a certain amount, that would help us with cost. Correct?
Harry, remember when you did Second Avenue and it had turned out so great, we never had to do it ourselves? You guys did it. How did you do it? It really turned out great.
Second Avenue was done by a contractor, they milled it
Oh,
and
I
paved
thought
it.
Harry did it.
Intersection there.
Yeah, it was a whole intersection, it was entire, I'm just talking about cracks where the two roads come together and they start to split. A great example.
Whether it's old or new, right? Either with
It doesn't matter, but I would argue that we should, if we identify and then, you know, don't go crazy with them, but, you know, if we said, I would send him a letter saying that I'm sure he knows Hartford is splitting where the two seams came together. And I would argue that if we put a little bit of asphalt, a little bit of, what is it called? Tar, then it would help it for a period of time.
What's the ballpark on that machine?
We would just rent it for about $5,500 for a week,
Oh,
That's including material.
including, but that's good enough for us.
sure.
We only need it maybe 1 week a year and put it part of our budget. Harry pointed out safe routes to school for sidewalks and handicap ramps. One of the things we're noticing is when we're doing striping and stuff like that there are certain places we should use a better paint, and that there's other places where there aren't necessarily ramps. Now, I go to the CDBG meetings, that is a very good application. You remember when the town used to do ramps all the time?
Yeah.
But if we identify that, but there are other grants for this. One of the things that was brought to my attention, I think some of the members of council said, why do we do sustainable all the time? I think it was you, Greg. And the reason is if we do identify problems, there are grants to sit there and say, safe routes to schools, and we could identify this, we could maybe get the better paint and maybe put those ramps in. If we know, a great location was, you said Smith and Orchard is a location. One thing that, I don't care, I told you, I'm reading my list. The Public Works Construction Office painting more likely will happen over the winter. The Senior Center, possibly painting, but we did talk about fixing it up a little bit because of sharing it with the library. But now that we're sharing it with the Girl Scouts, and I just had a meeting with them today, I don't know if you saw my car there, I'm gonna probably ask them to move the Boy Scouts out too. Because I walked the building with Box architects, but I called them engineers and we need to move them out. I believe we need to move them out. So I think we have to offer them that building. The only difficulty with the boys, they tend to be more projects than the girls and stuff like that. But there's a lot less of them. There's maybe 1/10. 30?
30 boys.
There's 30 boys?
At least, yeah.
Okay, well, 30 boys and 60 girls, so about half then. But we gotta move them out. I think you had pointed that up. I think we're gonna ask them to move out to get it done.
There was somebody utilizing the senior room, like last Friday. They had the projector, there was a bunch of professionals.
That was the Public Works Department doing a training.
Oh, but
Yeah.
more than our public works, I've seen a lot of strange faces.
Yeah, it was engineers, et cetera, we put them through records.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so, and that was one of the things we talked about, was utilizing our buildings for different things. You're right, we need to do a better job with our calendar, but, that was planned, I think, for a while
Yeah.
to do that. Senior Center, PowerPoint, we just talked about that. Harry does have a PowerPoint machine that we could bring down there. That might be helpful for some of the meetings that we had, where it could go higher up. There's a portable PowerPoint machine, correct?
Who has that? Who owns that?
Public Works,
Oh, yeah?
for training purposes.
Okay.
So for the next
Or
meeting,
laptop, or just similar to this, right?
same as this, but down there,
You don't have a laptop, so you have to have your
But you have screen.
it's just a
screen and a projector.
screen and projector, so wanted to bring that up. Yeah. I'm not gonna talk, I'll let you talk about these two things.
Please.
Please? Okay, decorating the Borough Hall, if anyone hasn't noticed. We do have to take care of the Veterans Wall. I'm gonna walk through during the winter time, we're gonna work together to get that resolved. We're gonna put some signs up down at the tennis courts and pickleball courts, since that's done, I think, paid for at this point, correct?
Oh, Nick, well,
Yeah.
since you mentioned that, a lot of kids are going in there, and it's a beautiful paint job, and skateboards and bikes. Can we get a sign up real quick?
Mr. Wozon is in the process of ordering signs.
No
But I would
bikes.
argue that the police department taking a look on that, and I don't know if this, hopefully the sign will stop
Somebody's
it.
stuffing it up, but it's like a new car once you hit the first.
I know, it's terrible.
Yeah.
Police vehicle will be here, was it this week? Did you hear it?
This week.
The chief told me the end of the month.
Yeah, that's what he told me.
Yeah, this week. Cameras will be in it. We did talk about linking the cameras to the bathroom in the Harry Williams Building to the police department. So the police department has taken the initiative to deal with our IT company so that they have better access. And maybe we can have a camera facing
That would be great.
the tennis courts and the fields. I think there's 6 cameras down there, so we might need to adjust them a little bit. So that proposal will come, IT services will come to Jim to hopefully approve that, and we'll put cameras
Are there
there.
any cameras on the parking lot because of the people that are getting?
There are 2 cameras on the parking lot, but we gotta keep working on that, where they're gonna be.
Did they ever find who stole that lady's pocketbook?
No, Detective Speakman's got an ongoing investigation on it. He's
Yeah.
following up everything.
But the cameras were able to show it, and that's where we identified that there was a problem, that they couldn't download the pictures easily.
Oh.
So now we wanna hook it up so the police department will be able to do it at their office.
Okay, great.
Has there been any pickling on the courts yet?
I think the only one who pickled was John, pre-fence.
Pre-fence pickle?
But most of the pickleball goes indoors during the winter time.
Oh, does it?
I played one of the residents, and we're on, I was a little aggressive, I don't know, he doesn't want to play anymore.
Really?
Oh,
That's my game, I love it.
Yeah.
Very competitive.
Is on pickle now?
You did that with Bruce?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's very competitive. You beat him, that's it.
Oh, is that right?
All right, so, let me just, real quickly, we did have a little brief conversation about capital, but I think that's, once Jim has a little more of the numbers put together, we can start. Many of us have talked a little bit about capital.
I'm not even gonna read this.
I'm not gonna read about capital. So that takes care of that.
Your report, you just said.
Okay, so hopefully you can do that. So now the last thing that I did, it's wonder I had a damn job. Scout board. So I had a meeting today with the scout board to bring the engineers over there,
It
not the
talks.
engineers, the architects.
The building does talk.
So and I met with the attorney who represents the scouts, and he would like us to draw up a contract of sale. This is for you, Dan. A contract of sale, obviously, maybe a due diligence clauses, things like that. Title work has already been done. The borough already ordered the title work
Can you put me in touch with this attorney?
Yes, I'll email you this information. Andrew Viola, if you know him.
Oh, yeah.
So Andrew is their attorney. So Andrew did the title work, found out that it was free and clear, there were no deed restrictions against it, because that was one of the things we were nervous about. So he felt that the next step would be council to approve a contract of sale. We would get the entity, now he represents the entity, he's the agent, right, the corporate agent for that entity. They would sign an agreement transferring the property over to us, and at that point, we could do work.
Retrofit?
The scouting committee, it's not an individual, it is an organization that is made up by their bylaws. So the scouting committee is who owns it. So if you look at the deed, it says the Runnemede Scouting Committee owns it. There was a transfer of ownership from Mr. Cook to the Runnemede Scouting Committee, but Mr. Cook did not put a deed restriction on it. So the transfer can happen. I would argue that in our contract and agreement back to them, we could put in the agreement that it would always be primarily used for scouting. So they have that security that it's...
Boy and girl.
Yeah, yeah, well, that's what, it was always never the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts, it was always called the Runnemede Scouting Building, so it really was for both. So, and at that point, then we could do more work on how to fix the building up. The last thing I wanted to bring up was the Acme land. We are almost done with that. I need council to authorize a resolution, which I forgot to add. So it'd be resolution, and hopefully you guys will do it, resolution 19144 would be a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an MOU with the regional school board. What that memorandum of understanding, memorandum of agreement, MOA, memorandum of agreement. Is it understanding?
This
It was an A.
Because it's setting forth what's going to happen moving forward,
Okay.
as opposed to here's to what we agreed to.
They want us to sign, they want me to sign an agreement approved by you guys saying that they can move forward with their due diligence. They want the formal transfer of the land to the school board. They intend to do a phase 1 and a phase 2. They intend to do a survey, or take our survey. They intend to do their due diligence prior to
And
ownership.
what will that be?
So what they would do,
Ground.
that would be, they would take the piece of ground, separate from the easement, we're granting a buffer easement to the residents. So we're granting the buffer easement to the residents, but then we're sending ownership to the school.
And then what are they gonna do with it?
They're gonna use it for school purposes. So they could use it as a practice field, they could use it as a garden, they could put solar panels in there, they could put a piece of equipment there. The one thing that we're
How big is
gonna,
that? How much is the ground?
it's 1.75 acres, it's a pretty decent size. But we,
No, there's a lot of ground. It's beautiful.
but we gave, like I said, some buffer, so that the buffer allows for,
About 25 foot?
it was random because of the way the line was,
Yeah, I know.
but it gives a separation between the property owners and the school district. Because they never had to deal with the school district before. You understand that logic? So we're changing the use.
Yeah, and the school board did pass this memorandum of understanding.
So they did?
They did.
Okay.
They did.
Yeah, because their attorney, they have a conflict of attorney, which is Parker McKay,
So
who's...
can't negotiate with myself, unfortunately.
That lot sits lower than all the houses, right?
Does it sit lower?
Uh,
Does that probably
That
sit
lot
lower?
sits lower than all the homes?
Not really.
And
It's,
where is you, or is it always dry?
It's basically dry.
yeah, it'll be a field. It'll be a field, there's no building gonna go back there. I mean, there may be a shed or something
But
like
they
that.
can though, right?
They would have, yeah, certain things there, and we could add some small restrictions
So
on
it's
it.
getting resolved, right?
It's getting resolved. So what I'd ask for is, it's a resolution 19144, Joyce, would be a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign an MOU with the school board to move forward with the
This is the Black Horse Pike Regional.
Black Horse Pike Regional School Board for the transfer of the land.
From Acme to the school board.
Oh, the Sherrington, how are we describing this land? What's it called?
Oh,
Sherrington Woods Recreation Area, how's that? It's a good one.
We never had it happen.
AKA made by the Acme.
Where you shoot ball there.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Motion by Ranieri, second by Kelly. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Kelly,
Yes.
Mr. Ranieri,
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Passio,
Yes.
Mr. Root,
Yes.
and Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
6
Okay,
ayes.
that resolution, so I'll sign that. Now, this will...
19140.
4. And one last thing, so now, ironically, Mr. Viola is our conflict attorney for this particular project. So he is drafting the easement resolutions, the easements. We're gonna have a meeting probably in about 3 weeks with all the property owners to get them to sign it. We're gonna get them to sign the easement agreement so that when the school board's ready, we'll file the easements.
You're abstaining from that.
Yes. Do you understand that?
How many property owners are?
4,
4?
4, plus the school board,
Right, yeah.
so 5, and then us, 6. Mr. Bach's office has done a great job with the survey, and we're almost there. So I went through a lot, so I'm gonna go around the board, because I probably have more stuff, but I'll stop there. Ms. Passio.
Thank you, Mayor, that was good.
Okay, thank you, everyone.
Of course, we know what Sunday is, December 1st. I hope nobody showed up last week.
Thank you, show up at the meeting 4:30.
Okay, so Sunday, December 1st, beginning at 6 p.m. The festivities will begin for our Christmas tree lighting and our fire truck parade, which will begin at 7 o'clock. There will be 2 balloon artists, photo booth, we will have cake, ice cream, pretzels, water, drinks.
Arts and crafts.
Oh, all kinds of arts and crafts, lots of giveaways, toys that Santa will give out to the kids, storytelling. So there's going to be a lot of activities going on, and Mary Volt's chorus is coming out to sing Christmas carols, and then we will have a nice surprise for all our residents in town, which I'm not saying, so.
I just asked that
Yes.
pictures are taken, because part of the applications,
We will
any handouts that are given
take
out,
lots of pictures
any
of,
signatures from people, that you can say if they visited a table or something like that, everything is about
Mhm.
documenting that we're
Yes.
getting.
we will have Reimagine table, we will
Yes.
have the
Green
Green
Team
Team table,
Right.
and we'll have Municipal Women's Club,
Municipal
Municipal Alliance. So, and they'll all be giving out some nice things, so, my favorite, we were gonna have an ugly sweater contest, so please wear ugly sweaters, tell the kids. We will have judges walking around, just looking. There's a $25 gift card that will be given to the winner. So wear your ugly sweaters, and I'll see you all on Sunday.
Do you need help decorating?
I will need help. We will begin decorating on Friday in the morning. As soon as you're done, just shoot on over, whatever.
Can I make a suggestion about
I
that?
do need,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Because it's been an issue for 12 years. There were 60, 70 people that showed up to the
heart and soul.
Heart and Soul.
Mhm.
We have their emails. Can we let them know to show up and volunteer?
We could work that.
Because this is the argument. The argument is that bring the community together to do something.
Yeah.
It shouldn't just be the 4 or 5 of us or.
Because I was counting on you, Mayor.
I know.
A lot of
In
things
the
come out
morning.
of it, just.
But I would argue that that is
We
exactly
need
what.
manpower.
I'll put out.
But that's what Heart and Soul's about.
I agree.
That it should not just be,
100%.
we're being sometimes criticized for what we do.
That email will go out tomorrow.
If you want to criticize, show up and decorate that
That's
tree
it.
better than me.
I've said it a few times, so
But,
we need,
but now we've got people, hopefully you've got all the
And
emails.
they
Well,
want, they want to
I'm
have,
just
they
going to
want it.
smaller group, and then they, all you have to hit the man.
so Friday morning, 9:30, whoever can show up, and I'm sure I'll be
And
there.
I would argue that it's a challenge, because it's show that
They will.
you came for free pizza.
Yeah.
Why are you going to come when you need somebody to hang?
To work, it's physical. It's physical labor, let's see everybody out there.
Okay.
And so with that, thank you, Mayor, and I will see you, what time can you make it?
Taxi might be good.
Okay, well, anybody else here?
That's why I wanted to push.
Well,
I'm supposed to work, I'm supposed to go to Flemington.
okay, so, Harry, just before I forget, can the guys bring the bench in
Don't do it.
inside Harry Williams, because Santa will be sitting on that bench. Where's the bench? It's outside. Is it screwed in anything?
There are
I mean, is it in concrete?
There are 2 benches at the
You could put ego.
bathroom down at Green Acres. There are 2 benches that are not bolted in. It's a picture of them.
We have perfect standing bench, we'll take care of
Okay,
it.
but there are 2 benches.
Take care of
I'm not talking about the player benches.
it.
'Cause There are 2 player benches down there, and there are 2 other benches.
Santa will fill back.
We need it for Santa
Santa's
and
bringing
Mrs.
his own.
Bring his own bench.
Santa and Mrs.
Miss Kelly?
So,
Thank you, Mayor. Well, I have a very important police meeting coming up. I thought I could do it before this caucus, but that didn't happen. And we'll be meeting with the chief and the captains And that'll happen Monday morning at 10 o'clock. Patty and John will, of course, be part of the committee. And one of the things we'll be looking at is the civil service test came in for the sergeant, so we'll be looking at that. I went to the school board, you know, I'm the liaison, and they have a new club. They have an Interact Club that started, and it's 7th and 8th grades. There's about 28 people. And the Persichetti girl, I don't know if you know, the Persichettys, she is the president of the Interact Club, very well-spoken young woman. And I told them about youth mayor and council, and I encouraged them to make sure that they signed up for it and made it known that they would be very much invited. So that was excellent.
The teachers have a big role in that.
I know they do. And they are working with the Interact Club in the high school. So the two teachers from high school and grammar school are working together to make this Interact Club a real important service club. So I was really glad to hear that, because I think when we have young people that are so qualified and they're not given an opportunity for these big service projects, it's wonderful to see that they're taken advantage of. I mean, you got 30 kids working on this. This is great. So I will save the rest of my report for council. Thank you.
Mr. O'Leary?
Thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Thanks, Joe. I just missed it. I want to thank Harry for the extra hard work that he put in for our sustainable program over the weekend.
You sure you want to?
I would definitely want to thank him. Thank you. This was our final effort to continue with our bronze status. I want to thank the mayor, Patty, Harry. And the extended deadline was tomorrow, and we made that. So we've got to wait and see if we qualify. Fingers are crossed. In finance, over the last few weeks, the finance committee and the mayor should have been receiving the budget worksheets and status reports regarding our 2020 budget. We're working on some of the final details. We can review the final process at our next finance committee meeting. We're going to set that date next week. And I've also entered a resolution for Heart and Soul. I want to thank everybody for the support. We are working very hard to win this grant. Wish us luck. And
$100,000.
And I will keep everybody abreast of our progress, and the rest is progress.
So just to say again, for that application for Heart and Soul, people showing up to decorate shows that they want to be engaged in this community. And I think that's what I took from what you guys are doing.
Well,
is
we're
to
going
get people engaged.
to have a bigger observation period to decide whether they're helpful or not. This Friday, if they can make it, fantastic. If they can't, we'll make other plans.
Okay, Mr. Farrell?
I'm going to defer to Mark and I'll wait for the next council meeting to get my report.
Mr. Root?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just want to tell everybody to come out on Sunday because there's big surprises. You're going to be floored. I want to mention that Coastline, a company that works with Harry and the emergency repairs throughout town, donated a live evergreenish Christmas tree looking.
And it's beautiful.
That we can decorate now, you know, for Christmas. But it's planted and it's going to be there for many Christmases to come.
Very nice.
So
It's
they're
beautiful.
part of the park themselves to donate it to the town. Probably because we give them so much money, but obviously that's fine.
We're really got a big heart.
Yeah. It got bigger over the years.
Heart and Soul.
Just Bob did mention that the pipe that we replaced in front of All Risk over the week, the guys did a nice job on that. It's all taken care of.
What was the problem? Like, I saw them there all the whole week.
It was too small, right? It was.
We had a deflection in the pipe that we were having problems with, we were having backups all the time. And with that, we thought there was a conflict actually with the water line service that was there for the fire service. Wound up being that after we unearthed and dug it, we had, first of all, asbestos pipe. And from there, with the joints, it was backfilled with asphalt over top of it, and it cracked the joints.
It was an asphalt pipe.
No, it was
Asbestos.
Asbestos pipe.
But there was asphalt from old construction from years
Oh,
ago,
back-
that the backfill, and over time, it got over to the joints and broke the joints open.
So that's
So
just.
the pipe, we had a 14-foot section of pipe, the 2 joints were broken, and the pipe pretty much fell to where it was only half of 8 inch. That's why we couldn't get the cameras up and
So
down.
the camera couldn't
Block.
go past it.
Yeah, that's why I said we needed to do something, because we couldn't get cameras through either direction to see what the problems were. So we actually replaced the pipe with plastic, redid the manhole with a new bench in it, new fern. All the concrete work was redone, side, all was happy with it. The only thing that we had to double check in the spring was one of their sprinkler lines, because we had to expose it, snapped on us. So could have gotten a little bit of dirt, but we'll fix that in the spring, make sure when it's activated. Other than that, it looks like they were never even there.
Was that outhouse or in-house?
The outhouse, and it was through a contractor.
An outhouse.
Council approved, it was part of a bond to do the repair.
Yes.
Correct?
Yep.
They went out for bid and I think
We went out to quotes on it, and that was done, and it's successful, and everything's flowing, so we're happy.
That's good.
Anything else?
Just the last thing, just to not, talk about the contract, but obviously the guys down at Public Works are doing a great job. Harry looks great with what he does, but unless he has the guys underneath him, he can't, he'd just be fighting them all the time. But they're they're all happy down there. Everything's moving smooth, they're working. You remember the hours when you first got in, we're gonna have to pay them overtime. So,
When did we house?
remember they were only working like 2 hours out of a day,
Okay.
I think
It
we're
wasn't
close.
as productive.
I think we're
We're
close.
much more productive.
Yeah,
That's
good.
Yeah, I think that too, I used to see them like go to Dunkin' Donuts in the middle of the day or first thing in the morning after they've clocked in a truck.
I'm still union.
But they don't do that now.
A month ago, I would have said,
But, no, I think they're doing
You
excellent.
have the right tools, the right training, the right
Yeah.
equipment,
Yeah.
I think it's.
Right chemistry.
Yeah,
they're all
definitely
happy.
doing it
They're
right
happy. Yeah, they're very happy.
So,
Anything else?
Yeah.
no, that's it.
You got 2 more meetings, Mr. Root. We'll have
I'll see
balloons.
what I can screw up.
Remember, we do balloons.
Do you want corn too, or?
A lot of retirements.
I want skunk repellent.
Oh, please, my house still stinks of skunk.
Unbelievable, every night.
So I was
The only other question on is the solar lighting down at the park. Where are we on there?
Mr. Wozunk he had asked me if I had a chance at the lake to talk to him, and I did not. He did. So we are going to get closer with getting somebody down there to lay it out for us. But I will say, I did have a meeting with DEP while I was down there, and they offered to send a representative on. I think I told you that. So they will send somebody out to walk the property with us to see where we could do this, because their argument is, if you meet with us ahead of time, we will not beat you up as much when we tell you which way to go. So
When you don't listen to us.
When you don't listen
We're
to
talking
us.
about the outer loop?
We're talking about the inner loop where the lights go, because we have to figure out where the lights go first. So,
Do we want to discuss the outer loop while we have them?
yeah, if we can. Going outside is more wetlands, where Mr. Bayshore guy gave us a map. It's mostly where we were at, it's not wet, there's this area that's wetlands, and his argument is if we kind of skim it, we can always let other areas go natural, to leave more area to go, not cutting the grass and stuff like that. So there is a way to give and take to do that. So I'm gonna try to set a meeting up as soon as possible before it gets too cold.
Could you bring me along?
Absolutely, it's your idea, so we're gonna get down there, and we just gotta get the lights figured
Now,
out.
this
There you
is
go.
the 25,000.
This is the 25,000 that the county gave us for recreation, but we want to pair it with a path. Because when the parents are parking and trying to walk over, there's no place for them to go, when people are walking around the park, they're in the middle of the street, there's a good argument, and then the fact that it does get dark, and getting out of there
Yeah.
is a little bit harder. And we have the money, so let's just do it. So. is there
One more
anything else that you have?
thing, Mayor.
Lights?
You will be lighting the Christmas tree this year.
I will be there, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate that.
That's-
The only other thing is I've been talking with Mr. Sapero. He attended a softball meeting while we were down at the league. and that went well. The softball is, and the RY are gonna get more on board with fundraising, trying to help out more, going after the signs, and I'm gonna try to help them in with that, so that they can get back on board, bringing their own income and kind
Helping
of drop the
them.
ball.
Miss Kelly is very good at raising money. She's hit me up a couple times already. You had you too, didn't you?
Double whammy.
It's not fair. So,
That's good that you brought up
before we go
about
into
the signs.
the professionals, I do want to bring, because you brought up all risk. I think this is a council action. I'd rather us do it here at council with the planning board. The all-risk, when they didn't do a site plan, they just did renovations to the building. During the renovation process, they had a retaining wall that collapsed and had to be repaired. During the repair of the retaining wall, they replaced the fence. They got a permit to replace the fence. However, they didn't identify when they replaced the fence that they were replacing a fence that had barbed wire on it. Barbed wire is not allowed in Borough of Runnemede. However, I feel that because it was, and once again, I'm hoping this is a council decision, we can send a letter.
You're heading in the right direction.
Am I heading in the right direction?
You gotta say a buzzword, and if you say it, you're good. Okay.
I'm hoping council can grant a waiver, or?
There you just said
Okay.
the buzzword.
So what I'm hoping is that everyone, and hopefully, and if there's any questions about this, we don't do it tonight, but, they fixed the building up beautifully. Does everybody agree that they did a fantastic job? I'm not a big fan of barbed wire, but we have problems and vandalism and things like that, and the property already has it. There's already probably 100 feet or more around the building. The fact that they.
What you're saying,
Will there be a sign?
grandfather, the.
Grandfather's not the right word, because they took it down, and once you take it down, you're supposed to conform with the ordinance. So what you end up having is half the fence would be barbed wire, and then half wood.
Right, but it's your ordinance, so then you have the right to grant that.
So we have that right.
Yeah.
So I would ask, would that be a formal resolution?
Would be a resolution.
Okay, because that would make Mr. Knight happy.
Will they identify that? I mean, like,
They already
will
have
there be
a
a
permit.
sign on there saying it's barbed wire? So
Well, it's pretty obvious.
Yeah.
You can see it.
I don't,
You can see, you feel it, it's there.
yeah, I
You're trying to
know.
climb the fence.
The sign says.
How tall is the
The barbed
fence?
wire's been there
It
6
looks like
foot. Barbed wire's been there in
barbed
Patrick
wire.
for, it's been there since it was Howard Lumber.
Oh, that-
You agree,
No.
Mr. Sam?
Yeah, yeah.
That barbed wire fence has been there since Howard Lumber.
Oh,
It's been there long, so a lot of it is still buried. Where they did some repairs is where they had to replace it. It looks fine, it doesn't look ominous or terrible. But I think their argument is they have a lot of outdoor storage, and there was a concern. Now, I argue that there are a lot more
And
cameras
Howard Lumber
nowadays.
had the same thing, that's why they had the barbed wire up there to begin with.
So it would be ordinance 19145,
Okay.
and it would be a resolution granting a waiver. A resolution, I'm sorry, 19145 would be a resolution granting a waiver to all risk for the existing fence that they replaced with barbed wire. Council feels the barbed wire is appropriate for this instance only.
Oh,
What kind is it, Mr. Mayor? Is it-
It's not razor, it's just
It's not the loop?
no,
It's
it's just a straight line,
extended?
the old fashioned, like a cow thing, whatever that, what is that what's
So
called?
you'd have to
It's called power wire.
be, you'd have to be getting
Razor
into
wire
it
or
to
barbed
get
wire?
It's barbed wire.
You have to be climbing the fence.
it. You'd have to be.
You have to be over 6 foot tall, and you have to you'd have to go above the 3 little wires.
You shouldn't be up there.
Now, they've had some minimal vandalism, if anybody noticed. Did you ever notice that the one side of the building got vandalized one day?
Yeah.
It got painted after they painted it.
Yeah.
Anybody notice that?
Yeah.
But they've done a phenomenal job.
looks great.
Yeah. So would someone like to make a motion?
I'll make the motion. I'll second.
Mr. Farrell, second by Mr. Lobenstein. Any other discussion?
19145.
Roll call, please. Only because it's a form.
Do we need a roll call for this?
We do.
We do.
We're deviating
Mrs.
from our
Keller.
normal.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein,
Yes.
Mrs. Passio,
Yeah, I'm gonna abstain, or I'm gonna say no.
Okay. It's okay, Brad, it's good, I'm glad we don't have a unanimous all the time. Who's next?
Mr. Root,
Yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
And Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
All
So
right, the
that's 5
resolution.
ayes, 1 no.
I agree, we don't allow barbed wire. If it was a new property, I would never agree. I absolutely would not agree. Where I'm upset is that we allowed it to go up, and then it was an after the fact thing. Do you understand? Like, it should have been stopped before they put it up.
I understand that.
Okay. Professionals, who wants to go first? Mr. Olson, Minister for the area, we'll go around this way. Mr. Olson?
Everything's been brought up and addressed and talked about.
I will congratulate you again on the lease. It's been good. I haven't gotten a single call, but I guess I just jinxed this. But,
All the construction good,
Everything's up and running, we're leaving, and it's just based on weather now. This week is a rough week because with holidays and everything else, but, we're managing it, we're handling it.
and our guys come in on Friday. It's now part of their switching of scheduled days. Is that what it is now with our contract?
No, Friday was a regular.
Oh,
day.
Friday still now, we switched, election day is when we switch.
Yeah.
And then,
very high winds the next 2 days.
but we have recycling on Friday, so everybody remember there's recycling on Friday. That's it?
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Dior.
I agree with Harry, just about everything was talked about. One thing I did want to say is that at the council meeting, we will have a resolution for a transfer.
You are going to do the transfers? Okay, that's fine. Does everybody understand he's just moving some money?
Yeah, after
Not a
looking
big
at it
deal.
today, it needs to be.
No reason to go zero. Yeah. Legal is usually easier.
I agree, sir, especially now that today I submitted my written report to council in
Very
advance
nice.
of caucus. I did receive 2 pieces of positive feedback from the mayor, and most importantly, from Mrs. Kelly,
Ms.
who
Kelly,
is
she's-
my toughest critic. So I was very relieved to receive that nice email. So everything is contained in the report. If anybody has any questions, of course, I would say reply to my email, don't ask me here.
Yeah, that was good, right?
It was.
Did everybody see that? Did we have enough time? It was a little late in the day, but it was late in the day. You're as bad as the engineer. The day before, the day of, day before the
First of
meeting.
all, as I explained to you on the phone,
Yes.
one, it gets me in the right mind frame.
No, fine.
Two, it keeps it fresh for council in case there are any
Yes.
questions that come up tonight. So,
And you're right, it made me fresh, and that's why there was, the towing ordinance that we're doing, there were a couple typos. The amounts of money were a little higher than what we charge. So they've been highlighted, and we're actually lowering the price of the daily, storage,
Yeah.
based on the original ordinance, original draft. Anything else?
I just want to see what time I put it up in the
It
report.
was like
10:15.
10:15?
That was very good though, dear, good cover.
Yeah.
10:15, right after progress.
10:15? Yep.
No, I
Okay, well.
Okay,
Oh, really?
we're gonna turn it over to the
I
engineer.
gave him this.
Oh, we have 27 pages.
Well, I concur with the solicitor in that doing it right before the meeting gets it fresh in everybody's mind,
So
so.
I'm like, you don't know what she does. Is that-
So you all have the status report that was emailed out earlier today, and Bob deferred to me, so I guess I should go over it. Anything that's been updated since the last council meeting is in here, so the first thing was the 9th Avenue redevelopment, we already talked about that, so I don't have to get into that. The sewer extension project on Davis Road, Steve Bach is still trying to coordinate a meeting with CCMUA to get the fees either waived or reduced. And
He's
it's,
doing a good job.
I understand.
Get that meeting.
It's,
I can drive down there tomorrow.
okay, take me with you, go see.
It's fine.
Page 2, the general sewer engineering. Last month, we submitted the survey that showed Pump Station F and the fence location. There was a meeting with borough officials and the homeowners. Did that ever happen?
It did, it was a very productive meeting, I don't think Mr. Farrell enjoyed it, but I think it was, a resolution was obtained, correct? Who was there?
Correct.
What was the resolution on
The
that?
resolution was that the borough owns all this land, however, the borough does not need to replace the entire fence. But what we were doing, I forgot
We're
already.
clearing out that whole side right there, and then Mr. Wark is gonna take care of that side. And then the owner is gonna take care of the inside.
Oh, now I remember, okay. The only thing we probably are gonna need, if somebody wants to write this down, we're gonna need an easement from Mr. Ward. Because we use his property to get behind the building, is that accurate? So,
Are we paying for any fences?
yeah, if you look at your survey marks, we're driving onto his property to get behind the building.
Right down the middle of the road there.
Yeah,
There
so,
was actually
unless the
conflict
survey marks are off.
of- Yeah, there was a little conflict with what was out there, and then what the property owners had on their surveys and coming out.
Their survey didn't match.
It
our survey.
almost was like 5 foot off, because it was goofy how it was laying out. So, but we compromised with everybody came up with an agreement. The biggest thing was to help out with making it more residential looking, put the vinyl fence around.
So instead of putting a black fence like we've been doing, you put a fence that hides the building. because it's right between two
Yeah.
homes.
Maybe a white one,
It's very, very,
But the white would only go around the building,
tan one.
not the whole 100 and some feet, it would only go around the building.
You need an easement.
Well, we need to, here's the question, though, I think Harry's saying is your survey accurate? Because if your survey is off by 5 feet, we don't need an easement. And once again, the property owner thought, both property owners thought that they had their fence on their line and they had their fence on their line.
We found.
But we found your stakes.
The stakes were on Mr. Work's side. There was no stakes found on the other property owner's side. We couldn't locate anything. So we were out there with tape measures trying to do everything that way, and that's where a lot of the conflict was.
It almost looks like our property is more onto the person to the right.
And both property owners were in disagreements of how it was from what their surveys were showing. That was the conflict. It wasn't just one property owner. John was even saying.
And it was more, it was, the states were running like this, and it's more, or they were running like this, and it's more like that. You know? That's what it.
But we might still need an easement, because now that we have a deal with John to maintain the back of the property, it grants him the use of that land. And we get, you know what I mean, so he has to maintain it, he's gonna cut the grass, right? We agreed to cut the grass.
Yeah.
And that's
simple.
Yeah, so simple easement that whoever that property owner cuts the grass.
I will look
I
into
can go
that.
over that, or Harry knows a little bit.
Okay.
But it didn't make sense where the stakes were, it did seem off. Sorry.
No problem.
But we want that in case he moves.
If he moves, we don't want somebody to put a fence up, now we can't get behind our building.
Okay.
formalize it.
Page 3, general engineering. The property owner at 701 East Clemens Bridge is trying to connect to the sewer. We don't have 8-inch line out there. We are trying to find out best ways to make that happen. My question is, the cost to replace this main is going to exceed your quote bid threshold. Are we going to go forward with?
I thought we agreed that we would not do anything other than pay for the material if they update up to 8-inch line. Do you remember that?
Well, we also have a section in Clemens Bridge Road that's only 4-inch.
But we're not obligated to fix that at this time, are we?
I think they're to the engineer, but I think putting that extra increase with the car washing on the facility at 3 properties till 4 inches.
It's not advisable.
Well,
I
here's the
go
thing.
back to you.
Okay, here's let me just explain what's going on, guys. We have a piece of property that has a septic system. It's been there for however long the property's been there. It got sold. They put money in escrow to fix the sewer. Across from Heritage. So the argument is that when Brooks came in, how many years ago Brooks was there, they put a 4-inch line from their building to the manhole cover. And from that manhole cover to another manhole cover is a 4-inch line. So our predecessors put a 4-inch line when we should have put an 8-inch line. We should not be forced to put a new name in for one property owner. I'm sorry, I'm a guy who believes in fixing things, but just because this property sold, you know, they have the right to simply run a 4-inch line to that manhole cover, correct? They do. We can grant them a street opening permit. They can do what any other builder does. They get, am I correct? They do a street opening, they just tie it to CCMUA, they pay all their fees, they cut the road open, and they put a 4-inch line, just like Brooks did, and just like the car wash did.
And the challenge there is there'll be all kinds of back.
Now, here's the argument. You have a manhole with 3 4-inch lines going. Steve had suggested coming out, tying into the Brooks line, changing that to an 8-inch line. We would pay the material cost only. Instead of putting a 4-inch, they put an 8-inch in. The 8-inch goes to the manhole cover. And now you're arguing that from that one manhole to the second manhole is only 4-inch.
Correct.
It's been that way for 75 years.
Is it working?
Yes.
Then what
You're adding more flow to it.
Yeah.
Okay. So
So
you got Brooks. Has how many employees does Brooks have?
We're restricted by DEP
Well, how about this?
for that.
How about we agree that we'll do it at some later date? Why can't we allow them to connect now?
We can, but.
And then some later
but
date, we
if
go
we start
between the
having
two.
backup.
Well, that'll be even more reason to make us do it. You see what I'm saying? I don't really want to tear up. I don't want to tear up Clemens Ridge Road. It's going to cost $40 grand.
Listen, there's probably gonna be one hand sink and one toilet. It's probably what that.
In that building,
That's
yes.
what I would think.
Why do they need an 8-inch line?
There's not gonna be a lot.
It's the law.
Is that so?
It's your sewer main that flow is going through.
We got it?
No, Jeremy,
That was the president calling.
We could hear
no
that.
power in the pole barn. We're trying to do
Yeah,
some,
minimal sewage out there. Hold on.
we're trying to do some sign-ups.
So,
It's all working?
Yeah, no power.
Do you want to run over there?
Yeah, we go on.
so we can have that property owner tie into the manhole.
You should go there.
So we can do the road opening permit for that property owner to do and tie into the manhole. And if you.
So what's the worst case scenario? It backs up.
It backs up.
So let's be clear, there's a car wash dumping 4 inches into a manhole. There's Brooks with all their employees, 4 inch going in the manhole. Now we're gonna have a building that is literally 400 square feet.
I don't know what's going in there. If they're tearing the building down,
It's gonna be a
I
hotel.
don't know what's gonna be.
Tearing the building down.
That's what I heard.
Is that what you heard?
I don't know what it's gonna be, but they're buying it to put something else, and I don't know what is gonna go in there.
But we fixed the 8 inch line going down the road. Steve had suggested that, but to go from, can you picture the manholes in the middle of the intersection? It would cross from right in front of Heritage, all the way down to Schubert.
That's 8 inch?
Now it's 4 inches. Our predecessors put a 4 inch line
Through the intersection.
through the
And
intersection.
PSE&G, or no, South Jersey Gas is getting ready to pave that intersection. So there's gonna be a 5-year moratorium with the county until
Good.
it gets paved. And you might have to deal with that if you upgrade that sewer within the next 5 years. So, I'm pointing out what's happening out there.
It's gonna be repaved. Won't they be tearing up some of that roadway?
His point is we could save money by going in and digging up now.
If they're
Like you're
repaved.
talking about putting, these manholes are 50, 60 years old. It cost us $20,000.
happen when you get to that manhole.
Yeah, we've been out there when the manholes start to fall,
Been there, done that.
fall in there.
Be nice to know what they're putting, what they're gonna mount that, what's in place of that little building, because we know, of course.
Well, they only have so much square footage there. They-
Like nothing.
The ordinance only allows for, you can see how small that lot is. It can't be more than a few people.
There's a lot in the back.
Yeah, it does
It's
have
not
a
in
lot
our
back
budget,
there.
it's
You
not
put a
in
lot of
our
stuff back
projections,
there.
right? It's not in our budget.
Brooks was using it all for storage.
I mean, it's completely unanticipated, and it's not like we're fixing the entire road.
Material cost is fair, let's go with that.
But you're missing, the material cost is only in front of the buildings. It's not between manhole and
I
manhole.
get it.
The manhole and manhole is all on us.
Correct.
We can't charge that guy.
What's the worst case scenario if we just say we're good right now?
Worst case is.
It backs up.
It might back up.
Backs up.
Like that.
It might back up. We had a line that you just heard that the pipe dropped 8 inches and it still floated.
Well, there was a.
If it backs up and that resident is complaining all the time, are we obligated to fix that?
Of course we are. Yeah, but there's nothing, like I said, this has never been on the radar screen. I didn't even know, I don't think anybody knew, though Beth did do a list. We never knew that that property was never connected to the sewer system. That property hasn't been connected to the sewer system for 60 years.
Drywall.
You know, the driveway.
What do they do?
There's a cesspool in the back of the building.
He didn't even have heat in there.
So why did Harry bring it up? Why did it?
Harry, Harry does things by the book. By the book is, they want to connect, correct?
There was a problem out front there, and he brought people in, and they found out this problem. So now he knows there's a problem, he's trying to.
What problem? There's no connection.
Do you know what happened when they dug up right in front of the car wash?
That was South Jersey Gas did something to this.
Yeah, they went through a pipe.
They went through a pipe.
They,
South Jersey Gas had.
Okay.
So it wasn't an issue, but it's
That's how we
coming
found
everybody's
it.
attention.
and we're getting all our mappings getting done, so now we know.
But there hasn't been a flow issue there.
No. The property owner
I'll leave it to the professionals.
wants to put a sewer line in.
That started.
That started the whole thing.
I say we allowed
At
it.
the same time as when South Jersey Gas also hit something that caused an issue out there, but.
I just think we either help him and pay for the 8 inch line if he goes in the same pipe, Or if he runs a new 4-inch line, it is what it is. He runs a 4-inch line, it goes into there. He can build whatever he wants to do. He pays us a connection fee, he pays CCMA a connection fee, and then when we decide to fix those 2 manholes,
When it's an issue.
when it's an issue.
I agree.
No
problem.
It was a sham road.
You can't do everything in 1 year.
No.
Okay. I'm fine with that.
You're fine with that?
We'll move forward. Okay.
Good move.
Next thing was Chestnut Street. We gave Harry a plan last month, so that's gonna become old news after a while. That was where your
So
road
Chestnut
failed.
Street, this is for
That's
legal
what-
again. We're gonna grant them an easement. Because the road goes up to their house, we want it to stop at the end of the driveway. Like, it looks like a driveway, and we wanna, you agree with that, Steve? You think that's the way to go?
Weren't they looking to get the road fixed? Wasn't that the issue, that the trash truck sank?
Well, we'll fix it, but we didn't know where our property was. We'll fix it at the bottom, but we don't wanna pave all the way up to her house. You go up a hill, we wanna stop at the bottom of the hill. So I think what we do is we fix where the damage is. Maybe we have to fix hers, and then we'll give her the property. Because you understand, we're going up a hill.
Yep.
You would think it's a driveway, but it's a borough road.
How about that?
So on your list, we'll get you the legal
You
description.
got it.
Make
Now, where
her
is
make her
this?
happy if it
Where
doesn't
is
cost
this?
much.
This is Chestnut. As Chestnut ends, it looks like a driveway.
This is not Herenio, is it? Yeah.
Here's the house.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it
So,
is.
so the trash truck sank.
Yeah.
No, not the one you and I went to. That's Garden Terrace.
That's Herenio's
No,
property.
wrong property. This is Chestnut going, remember Dave Walker used to live? Keep going straight. Let's do that.
Oh, it's not Herenio's.
You go up a hill and you can look down over the industrial park.
That is Herenio.
It's not, wrong side. I know the difference.
Okay,
Yeah.
they're on the other side.
Yeah.
All right, I don't know who that
Oh,
is.
that whole
You're looking
thing
for
at
an
the top of
easement.
the hill there.
It's hard to see.
Yeah, this one goes that way, Hermio is straight.
Hurry, to the left.
Yeah.
This is to the right.
To the
Yeah,
right.
he's got it right there.
Yeah. I know where it is.
Yeah, I don't
To the left is Ranio, to the right is up Chestnut.
Garden Terrace and Chestnut, where
Yeah.
they meet up top.
And the trash truck sunk, she couldn't get to her house, we filled it with stone. You remember that? Remember that? And so now we got a survey, we're gonna end it, we never wanna go up that driveway ever again, you know? We're gonna end at the bottom of the driveway. So she brings her trash down the end of the driveway, we give her the land, she cuts her grass, it's her land.
Well, Herenio,
Corino is the opposite, she owned the
she
driveway.
owns the grass.
This is the exact opposite scenario.
Yeah.
Okay. We'll work with Dan.
So you're good on that?
Yes.
Well, you put survey stakes out there, all set stakes?
Where's this
Okay.
We
No,
walked.
we put property corners.
Oh, you
It's
put
not
corners?
offset.
Oh,
Okay.
It happened to
Measured
be
everything.
on the sidewalk
Walked
or
it.
along the side of the road.
She
So
owns
it's
the
staked
whole
out.
thing.
Next thing,
Leased to her back in '92.
What do you got?
next thing is there's some tax map issues on Oak Avenue, Sunnybrook Road, and Park Avenue. We're looking into that, and we'll be doing tax map revisions and getting copies of the revised tax maps to the borough clerk and the tax assessor. Next
Deeds
thing-
don't match the maps.
Right. And that's been going on, yes.
Something like that.
And we haven't done an update
You have
since.
Park Avenue down there?
Yes,
Okay.
we haven't had an update since 2015, so we need to make some updates to that.
Okay.
So we're working on that. Page 4, the 2019 road program. Marandino has done all the concrete work. We're waiting for their paving subcontractor to come in. I was told it'd be early December, so hopefully that's what's going to happen. They will have to re-notify all the homeowners when that's going to happen. In the interim, we 3-quoted the,
And they ask for no money?
they've not asked for money. They're a little slow. Because of the issue we had on the 2018 road program with the coring of the road, we've already 3-quoted to have testing companies come in. We're not getting quotes from Craig Testing, which is who we had for the other one, because we had problems with them. So we're 3-quoting that, so that once the road gets paved, we're ready to get the road cored, because DOT will not waive the testing, because we're over 5,000 square yards.
Did you ever get the testing done on the other one?
Coring was done, I'll get to that one.
Oh.
You're moving ahead of me.
You brought it out.
Mark,
Yeah, I will.
real quick, what are we doing with the milling on these two projects?
They're gonna be milling the road in place, and that becomes your base material.
So it's not being hauled out?
Okay, okay.
There's going, after they turn it up and grade it off, there is stuff being hauled out. But it's gonna be a mixture of the dirt that's there and the asphalt that's there.
So it's not good.
It's not just millings that
What do
you
you
run
think?
out.
What do you think of?
Well, if it was decent milling, go back to the lake, you know, the behind the
Continue
softball.
back there. I'll be fine now.
But,
If it's not decent, you need salt dirt, it's just.
yeah, well, if it's dirt and rocks and,
We are extending, at the softball, there's gonna be a stone driveway installed as part of this project
how far back's that going?
to the limit of your right of way.
Wow. So pretty far, all the way back.
Not all
Yeah,
the way, no,
that
that's
means
property.
like-
Yeah,
It
it's
is.
one of the right ones, stuff like that.
I don't have it wrong, but it's,
Is it as far back as the house?
yes, yeah, further,
Really?
yeah, further than the house.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we just couldn't go past the right of way because then DOT won't reimburse us.
Gotcha.
But if you wanna
Continue.
continue it, you can.
Okay.
Bob could pick that up.
Nice.
Mr. Mayor, can I be excused?
Absolutely.
I know how to clear a room, don't I?
Yeah, you hear it too.
You still don't take the rest.
We have enough?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, okay.
Okay, sanitary sewer and storm as-bills were phase 1 and phase 2. We did what we could on phase 1. Harry's crew cannot get to all the manholes to open them, the ones that we're missing.
I thought we got this.
He couldn't get certain ones open, and he said, well, when you're out there, if you got one stuck, call us. We tried that, and his guys are leaving right now.
Oh,
So we moved on to phase 2,
okay.
and we're working both phases at the same time now. So when the leaf season allows us to get back to the west side,
They'll
we'll
check.
move that, yeah, whatever they have to do. Page 5, the Black Horse Pike traffic study. Shropshire supposedly reached out to the NJDOT. We're just trying to get that meeting together so that we can try and get the timing switched on the lights. And
You know, just to tell Craig, you know, I've been spending a lot of time at those intersections, not by choice. But I think I understand what they mean by not being able to offset it. Because from what I see, if you offset it, it's just gonna stop into the traffic. If you dump, say you dump Clements Bridge onto the Black Horse Pike, there ain't enough room on the Black Horse Pike to handle what can come off Clements Bridge. So you'll get like 5 cars, and then it'll just back up into the intersection.
But that's different than changing timing, though.
Well, the timing's good, you're giving it a little more time, hopefully that helps, but where we were fighting them against offset and all, I think you're just gonna dump too much.
There's no place to go.
No place to go, right. I just
so
wanted
we will update you on that.
Still drive on that time?
Page 6, the 2018 road program, I mentioned Craig testing was out there finally to do the coring. We are awaiting the test results.
Okay, good.
However, they left the place a mess. We had a resident complain about some of the conditions in the road, and they got black footprints on their new driveway apron. The first rain we had washed most of it away. I haven't been out there since the last rain to see if that took care of the rest.
Get that big of a mess, drilling holes.
It was a resident complaint. So, we're looking into that, but it got a lot better after the first rainstorm. But as a result, that's another reason we didn't request Craig Testing to give us a quote for the 2019 road program.
Good.
And skip page 7, because that's all old. Skip page 8, because that's all old. Last thing is on page 9, South Jersey Gas. Harry and myself met with the South Jersey Gas representative to go over what the mill and overlay limits would be, since they've tore up so much of the town. Harry seemed happy with what they're proposing. I just don't have a schedule for when they're going to be doing that work. But it's moving forward, and you're getting a lot of new roadway out there.
I did hear DOT is supposed to send our award. Did you hear
I
that?
heard unofficially, and I don't want to say anything because it's unofficial, that we did get a grant for the 2020 road program. I don't know, I think 225, but I'm not sure. It came unofficially, and I just didn't want to report that tonight, and I was going to wait.
We should be getting a letter soon.
You should.
I was under the impression we were going to get it.
Something came out.
225 is, it's okay.
What did we get last year?
375.
One shot or was it 2?
One shot.
Wow.
So drop it to 225.
What happened? Who pissed them off?
Really?
Just be glad we got 2 years in a row. That's how I look at it.
You're right. You know how to piss people off.
So I will,
Yeah, do. Let's get the job done.
hopefully we'll get official notification before next Tuesday, and we will update you regarding that. And
As
that's
soon
all
as
I
you
know.
know. Yeah, if I get the letter, or, if anybody gets a letter, then
We'll to talk to you about that.
No, I didn't even go in.
Yeah, there's no reason to talk
I
about it, is
didn't,
there?
it wasn't.
Got done, didn't it?
It did.
That's right.
Okay, is there anything else?
Progress.
Let's,
PSE&G cut the power to the building. Someone else didn't pay their bill, and they put in the wrong address. So-
idiots. How do they not know it's a federal property? Okay, so this payment of bills first, we'll get that done. There's a motion to pay the monthly bills.
I'll make a motion to pay the bills.
Is there a bill?
I'll second that motion.
Do you need him?
No.
Motion by John Reary, second by Patty. Pass it.
Got it.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Passio.
Yes.
See that?
Mr. Ranieri.
Yes.
Mr. Lobenstein.
Bills? Oh, yes.
Mr. Farrell.
Yes.
Mr. Root.
Yes.
That's it. That's it, everybody?
That's it, it's only four of them.
That was a
All
lot.
right, the bills will be paid. All right, this is good and welfare, anyone wishing to speak, please come on. Right?
You still there?
You sat the whole time?
Yeah.
That's great. Just in case we needed you, we didn't need you.
Just wanted to make sure everything's good for the third.
Yeah, so we'll get this done on the 3rd. You want to bring the gentleman in? Okay, so you're hearing this, we're gonna have them come in and, we swear them in like the police officer. That's right, we did it once before with the fireman.
Yeah.
So we're doing 2. These 2 guys are replacing Fred. Takes 2 guys to replace Fred. Actually, takes about 4 guys. Anybody else, Charlie? Anything? Okay, seeing no one, is there a motion to close the public portion?
I'll second that motion.
First by Mr. Lowenstein, second by Ms. Passio, all in favor?
Aye.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
First by Ms. Passio, second by Mr. Lowenstein, all in favor?
Aye.
You're adjourned. 7:38.